Hi all and welcome to Freewill Life UK. I am your host, Francesca Owasho Campbell, and today's topic, will China's protests make a difference? So let's get into it. Black Boy Productions. Black Boy Productions. So, if you haven't heard, China has had a series of protests happening over the last couple of weeks. And these protests started after 10 died in a fire during lockdown. I want to give you a slight history of the surveillance culture that China has. I just want you to take a look at what it's like living in China.
China is the quintessential surveillance state, infamous for its mass surveillance system. The Chinese Communist Party relies on CCTV cameras, big data, artificial intelligence, and other new age technologies to track citizens and study their behavior. The purpose? To exercise control and prevent any brewing dissent. Now, one of China's largest provinces, Henan, has come up with a new plan. Security officials in Henan have commissioned a surveillance system to track journalists and international students. According to a tender document published in July on the Henan provincial government's procurement website, there are detailed plans for deploying a comprehensive surveillance system. This included using 3,000 facial recognition cameras that connect to various national and regional databases. These cameras can compile individual files on anyone considered to be a person of interest in Henan. The document further specifies that cameras must be able to build a relatively accurate file for individuals whose faces are partially covered by a mask or glasses. And those targeted must be searchable on the database by simply uploading a picture or searching their facial attributes. It also mentions that journalists will be divided into 3 categories: red, yellow, green, in decreasing order of risk. According to the tender, warnings will be set off if a journalist in Henan registers into a hotel, buys a ticket, or crosses the provincial border. The tender also specifies that the system should be able to track the movements of international students through methods such as mobile phone positioning and travel bookings, particularly during key dates such as the country's National Day or annual session of Parliament. Another category of people it wants to track are women from neighboring countries that are illegal residents. At least 2,000 officials and police personnel will be used for the functioning of this comprehensive system of snooping. The public cannot access this 200-page controversial document. According to a Reuters report, a contract worth $782,000 has been given to Newsoft, a Chinese tech company, to implement this project. US-based surveillance research firm IPVM, which has closely tracked the network's expansion and first identified the Henan document, says security experts believe that China is trying to build the world's most sophisticated surveillance technology networks. To achieve so, it's installing millions of cameras in public places. It's encouraging the use of techniques such as smartphone monitoring and facial recognition. Once again, China shows the world how power can be misused and technology abused.
So, to me, this is really insane. It reminds me of George Orwell's book, 1984. If you haven't read it, go and look for it, give it a read. So, this is how the Chinese people were living before lockdown. constantly surveillance and having their freedoms challenged whenever something had gone wrong. It blows my mind that this is where we're at in 2022. Well, this is the conditions that China was under. I totally understand why the people of China want their prime minister or president to step down. I want to show you another clip that will explain some of the protesting that has been going on in China. It has been very concerning how China has enforced lockdown. I can see this being a trial run for the rest of the world. So I think everybody needs to take note and look what's going on. So let's take a look.
109 days, that is the period for which residents in this ill-fated building that went up in flames were locked down. 10 people were killed in the fire because authorities would not open up the building as part of its zero COVID-19 policy, and because of which the continuous lockdown, none of the cars parked in front of the residential buildings were operated. As a result of which, it took a lot of effort for the fire brigade to clear the cars and reach this building. Trapped residents had to pay a price with their lives.
Flames spread upward from the 15th floor to the 17th floor, with smoke billowing up the 21st floor. According to multiple state media reports, the blaze took about 3 hours to extinguish. It is also said the fire trucks did not even enter the compound of the building owing to COVID lockdown rules, and hence most of the water spraying was of no use. Even though Urumqi has not seen a high number of cases, local officials fearful of losing their jobs are leaning towards more extreme measures such as sealing of buildings to prevent newer outbreaks in their jurisdictions. The region has been under lockdown for close to 3 months. Survivors say that people were not allowed to step outside of the building. In a rare case of occurrence, the Uyghurs and the Han ethnicity citizens protested together against such extended lockdowns and shouted at the authorities to lift these lockdowns. The mayor of the Urumqi municipality has reportedly apologized for the incident. Pandemic-related lockdown fatigue has increasingly triggered the people of China to protest and raise their voices against the lockdown. It remains to be seen how long this current status quo continues. In New Delhi with Sneha Murdani and Sai Kiran Kannan for India Today.
There's some astounding pictures that have been coming in from China, a country that once made news for setting up a COVID hospital in a few days, 8 days to be precise, in 2020. Is now in news for developing makeshift camps and quarantine centers at lightning speed, and this too after 3 years of the outbreak. Take a look at how China is bracing for a COVID surge, quarantine centers inside toilets, people being made to pay for these quarantine centers.
Once in the news for building hospitals for COVID-19 at breakneck speed, a record 8 days in the year 2020. China is now in the news for these quarantine centers and makeshift camps. No, we are not in 2020, and the novel coronavirus is not novel anymore. As the world has moved on, learned to live with the virus and work its way around it, China is stuck in time. China is infamous for being the host country to the novel coronavirus and the worst for hiding the truth from the world, even misleading the WHO and blaming other countries for the outbreak. If you think the COVID crackdown measures are brutal, then what do you feel about this? These people locked up in quarantine camps being treated worse than prisoners. Toilets are being used as quarantine centers, inhuman living conditions in quarantine camps. Children isolated from their parents. the risk of infection continues to be low in the capital city of Beijing. However, makeshift camps are coming up here as well. The Chinese people continue to suffer. They are made to pay for their stay in these quarantine camps as the government monitors health status digitally through COVID passports. In New Delhi with Sneha Mardani for India Today.
So as you heard it there, yeah, it's concerning because this is what the West has to look forward to. I can see that if another pandemic was to take place, this is what will happen. No one wants to go back into a lockdown, and I think the UK need to take note. I think they need to take note that no one ain't going to put up with that, especially if it's enforced by law or legislation. We saw what happened in the last pandemic where government wasn't telling the truth and they had parties during lockdown. So I think we would need to really, really evaluate what, especially if it was to happen again, what they would want to do in the future. Yeah, not a pretty sight. A lot of people are very upset that they're still in lockdown, and the type of lockdown that they're in is not good, where you cannot maneuver at all, and where people are taken to camps. This is not good. This is World War II look-alike. I believe something else is happening also that is not being told in the mainstream media, but we'll just have to wait and see what is truly going on there. This video has been hard for me because I can see that our future is heading in that direction, and it doesn't look good. I will put a link down below so you can take a look at what's happening, what's been happening, and what the outcome will be after the protest. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon.
Black Boy Productions.